1 year has passed since Mike and his little sister Abby survived a terrifying encounter at Freddy Fazbear's. When Abby receives a distress call from one of the animatronics, she makes her way to the original Fazbear location. She reunites with her friends, all with upgraded bodies, but she's not aware of the vengeful spirit that haunts the pizzeria, and she's looking for a way out. This is Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is the sequel to the 2023 film from Blumhouse. It still blows my mind that they released that movie in theaters and on streaming at the same time. Like, did they not have faith in it? But man, did it make a lot of money, and it would have made more had it not been for Peacock. Needless to say, that was not a mistake they would make with this movie, until like 2 weeks later. And speaking of mistakes, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 isn't like the worst video game movie I've ever seen, but it is more in line with what I anticipated the first one to be. It still had that cheese I enjoyed, but lacked the odd charm. The story is incredibly convoluted, and the writing is downright terrible at times, and most of all, it's a horror film that isn't even that scary. And that was definitely a problem with the first movie, but I think it's worse here because of just how much harder the film tries to be scary. Now, this is a unique film to talk about because there are basically two different casts to talk about. The main ones being the human characters, once again played by Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lail, and Piper Rubio. This is a cast I think does best with the film's rather batshit script, and I kinda like their dynamics together. I also still find Abby's friendship with the animatronics rather wholesome, even if this film has nothing as sickeningly sweet as the fort building scene from the first. There are even a few new characters too, like one played by Freddy Carter. That dude had the creep level turned up to 100. I thought he was an animatronic at first. But I think my absolute favorite character in the film is the robotics teacher, played by Wayne Knight, for no other reason than what I believe to be a phenomenal casting in joke. There is no way they didn't do this on purpose. Whether or not, I got a big kick out of it, and you know what? Points to the movie. The second cast of the film being the animatronics properly. When you are wonderfully created by the Jim Henson Creature Shop, you get the same respect as the Muppets. A huge highlight to me in the first film was how well Freddy and his friends were personified. I loved how they still retained their childlike personalities because they are children. This film has that too, but it isn't as oddly wholesome. This is mainly due to the fact that the animatronic the film mostly focuses on is Chica. Not even Freddy, the title character. It's the bird wearing a thong. Also, they talk now, and Chica's voiced by Megan Fox? I didn't like that. Luckily, the film does explain how these versions are different, but it's still remarkably convoluted. Props to anyone that can follow this. But I really wasn't a fan of the voice acting because I really thought the characters stood on their own quite well being completely silent. And the Megan Fox voice specifically really just gives me Megan vibes. And the last thing Blumhouse needs is for anything to give people Megan vibes. Matt Pat also voices Bonnie the rabbit, and like, he doesn't sound like Matt Pat. I wanted to hear Mr. Game Theory again in my movie. Now, as cool as the animatronics are in the film, that is also where the film begins to get overstuffed. This film is clearly preoccupied in pulling from every corner of the lore it can, rather than telling what could make a good story. The first film felt much more reserved with that, at least until Golden Freddy showed up. With this film, there are 4 different sets of the Five Nights at Freddy's crew. The original animatronics, the toy animatronics, the ones from this film, and the withered animatronics. And the withered animatronics just kinda show up because they have to. That's a lot like making a Resident Evil movie and having to do everything because you feel like the fans will like it. It wasn't until this movie that I learned all of these animatronics are different animatronics and also might be different children. I truly don't know. I hate to sound morbid, but the idea of children haunting the animatronics their bodies have been hidden for years, that's a pretty good setup for a horror story. But this film kind of leans more into the sci-fi horror, I guess. and it doesn't work for me. At least the withered animatronics have a pretty solid scene that seems to recreate the game well. Oh, and then there's the puppet, who kinda looks cool, but the story is kinda just eh. The puppet has the makings of a solid villain, but the plan just gets so convoluted, especially with the two different animatronic groups it controls. I don't know why it bugged me so much, but it did. It really did. When I say this movie is for the fans, I really mean it's for the fans. Like, truly, I don't believe there's anyone who has never heard of Five Nights at Freddy's, has never seen Markiplier play it, who would like this movie. There are parts of this movie I thought were pretty cool, and parts that really made me laugh. It's mostly because of how stupid it is, but they made me laugh. I'm not being hyperbolic here. There is one great blink and you'll miss it Easter egg that I thought was quite well done. But this isn't a movie to introduce people to Five Nights at Freddy's. And I kind of feel like that's detrimental to the franchise. Obviously that won't kill it, but it definitely gives it a bad name. Especially if your film is mostly memes and references. One's okay, maybe two, but you're pushing it after that. But here's the thing. Now, when the film actually tries to get scary, that's when the film gets sad to watch. Like, it's not scary. It's like they want Freddy and his friends to be slasher villains, but they don't really work as slasher villains. Especially with that PG-13 rating. This film is more tame than the first one. I don't believe there to be one solid kill in this film. If only they had a character in this film that would perfectly fill the slasher role and is just sadistic enough to be a good killer. If only they had a great actor already tied to this role to potentially be the villain in a Five Nights at Freddy's movie. So then there's the mid-credits scene. For as annoyed as I was for a good portion of the movie, they hooked me back in. I got goosebumps. That was a pretty good reveal. I don't know much about Five Nights at Freddy's as a whole, but I know this guy. I'm not quite sure how they're gonna do this character with a PG-13 rating because his design alone should get this an R rating. There's no way around this character's design and make it passable as a PG-13 film. There's just no way. It doesn't happen. It's not gonna happen. It's clear this film is not set on making any new fans of the franchise and only wanting to appease the diehards who are going to go see it. And to me, that's not the ideal way to make a movie. Sure, a meme or two is fun, but after that, it just kind of gets annoying. There are a lot of great characters and franchises that some people would have seen as niche. And now, those are the talk of the town. The movies being like this will only let Five Nights at Freddy's be talked about amongst other Five Nights at Freddy's fans. And maybe they'd like that, which is okay, I guess. I laughed a lot, but never once I felt it was because the film was funny. I'm glad the fans of the franchise are enjoying it, but it definitely left me, a regular movie fan, a bit disappointed. Which is a shame, because the first kind of set up some solid groundwork. I hope you all enjoyed this review, and if you did, please consider hitting that like button, and if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when my next review drops. Until next time, I'm Quint Dunaway, hoping you will keep it cinematic.